This video will contain spoilers for Xenoblade Chronicles and Future Connected. The world of Bionis and Mechonis was home to many sentient races running their own civilizations. For many, this will immediately bring to mind images of Hyentia, Homs, Napon, or even Machina communities. But what if I told you, those are not the only sentient life forms to originate on the old world of Titans? Welcome to Xeno-Geographic, and today we will be exploring the socio-cultural systems of both Ignas and Kromars. Situated in the lower regions of the Bionis, Satoral Marsh was once home of the Ignas. These large reptilian men have a reputation for assaulting weak-looking travelers on sight. This aggression may give the impression of savagery, but there's more to them than meets the eye. Taking a closer look at them, we can see that they are garbed in armor. This is a clue that they are much more intelligent than mere monsters like Arachno or Wolves. Armor not only confirms that they are aware of their own weak spots in combat, but also that they possess the dexterity to create protection for said weak spots. Speaking of dexterity, they also possess the sleight of hand required to craft and wield weapons. Modern anthropologists believe this use of specialized tools furthers the claim that Ignas are not mere monsters, but in fact a form of intelligent life. Through inspection of items obtained by travelers, we can gain insight into Igna culture. Up first, we have an Igna hide jacket, made of leather and coated with some sort of grease. Up next, we have an Igna stone pot, showing their ability to use fire for cooking, and implying the existence of Igna cuisine. And here we have something quite interesting. Researchers have named it the warrior race's seal. It can only be described as a testament to a people who lived by the adage, survival of the fittest. Through this, it is known that Ignas engage in a very proud warrior culture based on Darwinist and possibly even social Darwinist principles. This would explain their aggressiveness towards travelers. It's also a potential explanation as to why they refuse to engage with the other civilizations of Bionis despite being sentient, as they only respect those who live by their creed. Evidently, they use their intelligence to further this militaristic ideology, as they are capable of using chain attacks in combat just like Homs, Napon, and Hyentia. Despite this reclusiveness, an incident saw a Napon archaeologist taken captive by the Ignas residing in the old exile fortress. Kacha, the Napon in question, recounts that she was interrogated by her captors for the location of a giant's artifact. This act of interrogation is a massive breakthrough for anthropologists. The Ignas, although remaining separate from the rest of society, are now known to speak our language. Considering that all races of Bionis and Mechonis speak the same language, it's possible they have always known our language, but simply choose to growl and snarl at travelers for intimidation purposes. A more fringe theory is that language is a recent discovery for them, and they are self-taught using books stolen from Napon traders. But why would Ignas want this artifact in the first place? The artifact in question is known as the Daring of the Giants. The defunct giants once led an empire of unrivaled influence. Their ruins and artifacts have been found in numerous places from as high as Aerith Sea to as low as Tephra Cave. Seeing as how the Ignas took refuge inside the giants' exile fortress, they likely have their own legends surrounding the giants. After all, it stands to reason that such a militaristic culture would come to idolize the greatest ancient empire and seek out its artifacts, perhaps believing they will be granted strength in combat. Despite their intelligence and rich culture, there is still a long way to go before the Ignas reach the next stage of civilization. They are still limited by primitive craftsmanship. Take this shoddy weapon as an example. It is a weapon of inferior design. Even an amateur could make better. So when it comes to technology, they're still a long ways away from ether rifles. Although there is a way to visualize what Igna society might look like in the future. Higher up the Bionis, there once lived a race that Hyentia biologists consider quite similar to Ignas. I am of course referring to the Kromars of Aerith Sea. It has long been speculated that the two races share a common ancestor. During the archaeological expedition to uncover the tomb of giant King Agni, A pile of Kromar corpses was found inside, as well as a gigantic live Kromar. Their presence at this site not only signifies an interest in archaeology, but finding them below the sea only strengthens the theory that their ancestors migrated up from Satoral Marsh and evolved along the way. Through examination of Kromar artifacts, we can once again gather a lot about their culture. Like Ignas, they are intelligent enough to perform chain attacks in combat. Polished animal hides have been found, as well as beautiful polished rocks we refer to in the anthropological community as slick Kromar stones. These signify an appreciation for aesthetics not found among Ignas. Here we have a royal Kromar pike. Dignified alright, but tiny. The very name of this artifact shows the different societal structure of the Kromars. While there is little sign of hierarchy among Ignas other than strong and weak, Kromars at the very least have a concept of monarchy if this item is anything to go off of. It also shows a vast increase in quality of craftsmanship when compared to Igna weapons. This could be a sign of higher intelligence, although this could merely be a case of Kromar culture placing a higher value on technological progress compared to Ignas. The Kromars conduct themselves similarly to their Igna cousins. They are equally militaristic, and the same warrior race's seal has been found on their possessions, signifying an exchange between the cultures in the past. This means there must have been some point post-evolution that these two races interacted. Where could this have occurred? This question stumped many anthropologists. The answer was not revealed until the Bionis was submerged underwater. Recently, travelers explored the Bionis shoulder, which due to its geological composition of floatstone, remained hovering above the flooded Titan. Their travels uncovered the answers researchers had long sought after. Exploration of the abandoned Zeker Magna quarry found several Kromar corpses, presumably the handiwork of Arachno. Furthermore, there were groups of Ignas and Kromars working together, likely a truce against the Arachno. This cooperation confirms many theories. Firstly, Ignas and Kromars are willing to cooperate despite their aggressive cultures. This once again gives merit to the theory that those who live by the creed of the warrior race's seal will be treated as equals. More importantly, this serves as evidence that the Bionis shoulder was the site at which Ignas and Kromars engaged in the trade of both materials and culture. Although some Kromars might have migrated here to escape the surge of Telethia in Aerith Sea, their closeness to these Ignas leads us to believe they've held this relationship for quite some time. This site was originally of little interest before the Bionis sinking event, but the myriad of evidence collected thus far leads researchers to reason that these Kromars and Ignas have been on the shoulder for generations. One question remains, however. On the travels of Shulk, wielder of the Monado, he faced many Ignas and Kromars. In its initial form, the Monado was incapable of harming organisms with the blood of Zanza. This raises questions about the genetic origins of these races. It's well known by now that the first organism created by Zanza was the Telethia. Later, he granted them intelligence and they evolved into separate life forms. Both High Entia and Giants are believed to descend directly from Telethia. The rest of their lineage is pure speculation. Pure-blooded High Entia possessed a gene that when exposed to high ether concentrations transformed them into Telethia. It is unknown if this gene was also present in Giants. Researchers believe the answer is no. Disciple Dixon, a Giant, was not transformed during his encounter with the High Entia forces during the Bionis awakening. His immunity could, however, be an ability granted to him by Zanza. Disciple Lorithia, a pure-blooded High Entia who was also present, did not transform either. If we're to assume that Giants did not possess this gene, then it's possible other intelligent organisms like Homs and Napon descended from the Giants. But this still fails to answer. Where did Ignas and Kromars originate? To help answer this, we've brought on one of the leading High Entia biologists. Please take it away.
One trait shared between all races immune to the base Monado is their intelligence and sentience. Even in its base form, the Monado could harm Telethia in Magna Forest. These Telethia were not previously Hyentia. This implies there must have been some sort of required intelligence on top of the existing blood requirement. Does this mean the Ignas and Kromars are not intelligent enough to be considered people? The common folk may lead you to believe that, but experts agree that this is not the case. The Monado was more than capable of cutting the Machina people of the Mechonis, and they are just as intelligent as any race of the Bionis. This brings our leading biologists to only one possible conclusion. The Ignas and Kromars are not descended from Telephia. The Monado was able to cut through monsters all over the Bionis, meaning they do not possess the blood of Zanza. Another organism must have somehow come into existence eons ago, which later evolved into every other organism on Bionis, completely independently of the evolutionary line of the Homs, Napon, and Hyentia. This theory fits nicely with the other information we have established, and would explain why not only Ignas and Kromars, but many other creatures of Bionis were harmed by the Monado. One thing is certain. Ignas and Kromars have been on bad terms with the rest of society since the start of recorded history. But hopefully, they'll take an interest in interacting with us peacefully, hunting for ether deposits, racing buggies, studying under the tutelage of the renowned Colonel Vanguard, just as we have taken an interest in them. Our team hopes for the people of this new world to walk towards the future, hand in hand. This has been Xeno-Geographic. Thank you for watching.
Hey, thanks for sticking around until the end. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments. I'd also like to give a huge thanks to K Jewelers for agreeing to appear in this video. Make sure to check out his channel if you aren't already familiar with his content. Also make sure to subscribe to me for more Xenoblade, gaming, and anime content in the future. Catch you in the next one!